Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. You're listening to the Sahri show on Revive FM 94.0. My name is Nabeela Raza and I'm the founder and CEO of Teach Me Islam app. So today what I will be talking to you about, the personality that I have chosen to speak today, is somebody that is of an inspiration to us all, has been for many decades and continues to be every day today. Now, before me actually giving the information and telling you all who this individual is, I would like the listeners, inshallah, to guess and try and see if they can find out who I am speaking of. This person, I will describe them in a few facts and inshallah give you the chance to hopefully guess who this person is. Now, this person, as mentioned, this individual is somebody who was very, very inspirational to many people's lives. She was a role model at the time over 1400 years ago and still is today. Many people name their children, their daughters specifically, after this person because they wish and would like their daughter to adopt some of the qualities of this individual as well. So this person is a role model for all Muslim women, specifically, mainly because she maintained her impeccable character throughout her life. Allah raised her like a lovely plant, to use the Quran's actual expression, and gave her a very, very important responsibility. This person is the pinnacle and is the main person that has shown us what true patience is. She showed, while fulfilling her difficult responsibilities, how she maintained her patience, what patience meant to her and how she tried her best and therefore is one of the most inspiring women of Islam. She did not compromise her strength, her willpower, her integrity, knowing full well that Allah controls everything and thus would exonerate her. Any idea who I'm speaking of yet? I'll continue for a short more facts. Displayed this superior morality and became a role model and living invitation to the religion through her faith, her behavior, her character, and most importantly, her genuine call was answered in the best possible way to all her trials and tribulations with, Allah willing, inshallah. Now, if you have guessed so far whom this person is and whom this personality is, I've not given obvious facts away because I wanted to see if the listeners could guess for themselves. It is none other than Maryam alayhi salam. She was so gifted, so blessed and so chosen by Allah that she was only the one woman in Islamic history that was given a whole chapter, a whole surah in the Quran after her. Now, what do we learn from Maryam alayhi salam? I actually asked a lot of my friends and family before coming onto this show today, asking them when they heard or when someone mentions the name Maryam alayhi salam, as everybody knows her, is very well known to her, what is one thing that you take away or that you learn from Maryam alayhi salam? The most common answer was strength, resilience, patience, the pinnacle of being the best mother, the best sister in terms of role model, and everything else. So as we all do are informed of Maryam alayhi salam's main and most common and famous story, I would like to touch upon it for the certain areas in regards to that. So as Maryam alayhi salam, she was gifted from pretty much as Allah got her to this world. She was a gifted child. So one day along her years as she was, do bear in mind, as we all are aware, Maryam alayhi salam was never married. She never married. Nor had that partner. Now one day while she was praying to Allah in seclusion, an angel appeared to her and conveyed the divine message that she would have a son. Now bear in mind, she has no partner, she is not married. How is this possible? To which she exclaimed, as the Quranic verse in Surah Al-Imran verse 47 and Surah Maryam verse 21, she speaks out saying, how can I have a son when no man has ever touched me? Neither have I been unchaste. So I've not been unfaithful. The angel, which was Angel Jibreel alayhi salam, replied to her, thus it is by your Lord, says, it is easy for me, and we shall do so that we make him a sign unto people and a mercy from us. and it is a matter decreed. Surah Maryam, verse 22. Now, angels appeared to Maryam alayhi salam in her dreams and gave her the glad tidings that she will have a son. To this, she told that he would be honored. He will be an honored son, a child in this world and in the next, and would be granted nearness to God. Now, Maryam alayhi salam was also ordered by Allah in Surah Maryam, ayah 26, that how she will deal with this time. So for the birth of her child, she moved away from the city, from the village, the small town that she lived in. She moved away from the people of the city, the people of the village, and moved away, far away into in an area within the mountains to have her child after she was given the news. Now, as we all would have been as a female, we would have thought of, having to go through such a thing. How will I be able to do it? What would I say to the people? What would I say to the rumors? Or how am I going to combat? There's so many things that she could have thought about and she could have complained. Yet, she did nothing. In response, Allah ordered her and responded and comforted her, telling her to eat and drink after she had given birth to her child, and put your heart at ease. But if you see any of the people, say, I have vowed silence to the most compassionate, so I'm not talking to anyone today. Another narration says that Allah, within the narration of this Quranic verse, Allah asks her to tell people that she is fasting. Back in those days, part of fasting was also known as not talking too much in terms of gossiping, futile talk. So this is what Allah had commanded her to do, for her to avoid any troubles and tribulations that's going to come ahead. That was the kind of ease and the comfort that Allah sent down in the verse of the Quran to her, to which she obviously followed. Now, Prophet Isa alayhi salam, when he was born, from his mother, he was quite young. He was still a baby. He was still a baby in her arms. That's how much of a young infant he still was. When Maryam alayhi salam decided to go back to her town. Now, as you can imagine, going back to the town means, you left the town as a single woman with no partner, with no child, and you return with no partner but with a child. You can imagine what must have been going through her. When people learnt of the return, they came out of their houses and surrounded Maryam alayhi salam. They saw the baby, of course, and automatically, as human nature, unfortunately, jumped to conclusions, and they behaved very, very rudely towards her. Asked her a lot of questions about her son. They even, as within Surah Maryam it mentions, they even say, how could you have been this unfaithful? Calling her names that she wasn't, accusing her of doing things that she didn't, mentioning to her that her parents were of great character, and she came from a very good family. How could she possibly do something like this? To all these allegations, to all these name-calling, to all of these things that she was going through, did she utter back in retaliation, in a rude way, in a negative way, in an aggressive way? No. She simply followed the command that Allah said to her, that if people ask you, say to them that you are not speaking of right now, you have been ordained, but simply do it through your actions. So when people asked her, how could she have done such a thing? She simply pointed towards her baby, towards Isa alayhi salam. And they said, how can we talk to one who is merely a child in this state, in the cradle? They considered him too young to give them a meaningful explanation. However, they were amazed by his response and his reply, this infant's reply. He said, this is Prophet Isa alayhi salam, said, I am a servant of Allah. He has given me the book, i.e. the Injil at the time, and made me a prophet. And he has made me blessed wheresoever I may be, and has enjoined me upon prayer so long as I live. And he has made me dutiful towards my mother, and he has not made me unblessed. This is from Surah Maryam, verses 28 to 33. Now, this is the main part of the story of Maryam alayhi salam that I wanted to focus on today. As we all have heard, all must have come across or read about the full story in detail anyway, I wanted to really pinpoint this part. Why? Because it shows and emphasizes and highlights Maryam alayhi salam's patience and how strong her patience was. She followed through the orders of Allah as exactly how He asked her to do so. nor was she tempted to retaliate to all these allegations, to all these name callings, to all these people who are from her hometown, pretty much like family, calling her all these things and all these names and assuming all these assumptions, even knowing who she was before she left the city. She endured patience by not even saying a simple uff. Now, if that's not patience, I'm not sure what is. From this, I would like to mention that people tried and tested her patience by failing to grasp her superior and honourable position, viewing her according to their own misguided knowledge, and accusing her of things that she had not done. Here, too, she showed her resilience, her true strength in her order from Allah. And being patient, and in return, what did Allah do? Allah showed a miracle to the nation of Muslims up until today. From over 1,400,000 years ago till today, there has not been any story like such. She has shown us the miracle is that a baby that is, for me and you as well, is too young to speak if it's still being carried in the arms of the mother or a guardian, was able to speak out. So this shows that Allah, when He promises us something, which He's done time and time again in the Quran, that when a trial or tribulation befalls you, be patient, endure it with patience, and I will give you the fruits of it. When? That's in His own timing. Now, this shows one of the miracles. Maryam alayhi salam, that was one of the miracles that she had experienced, where her pretty much newborn baby spoke out. Another miracle that Maryam alayhi salam, Allah built her status for all the pain and all the troubles and hardships she must have endured during this time. He gave her a very lofty rank. And this was another miracle that she used to have, is Maryam alayhi salam used to have fruit that was outside her chamber where she used to worship Allah, etc. She used to find, she and others used to find fruits outside her chamber on her doorstep that was not in the season. So she would have winter fruits in summer season, summer fruits in winter season, and so on. Now, this is not a miracle that many people saw. There are two ways of conveying one's good character, as you will agree. One is through words and one is through actions. As the famous saying goes, actions do speak louder than words. I'm sure you will agree. Now, the second way is far more effective and valuable, as you and I would also agree, for it is the genuine way and cannot be imitated. Whereas words, once we say it, we don't necessarily need to mean it. We could put on a little show. However, once we show within our actions, that means more, and that means more to everybody involved. For example, for instance, if someone did you wrong, right? If someone did you and I wrong, and they said sorry through a word, which through their body language, their facial expression, and everything else, we could tell that they didn't necessarily mean it, but they're just wanting to say it to build a bridge or to get over and done with. Yet this possibly means they may do it again, or they may, it may repeat itself. The incident or situation may repeat itself. However, if somebody, as well as saying it, or without even saying it, showed it within the actions of how sorry they were, ensure that they rectified their actions and the way they reacted towards you or that situation, would that not mean more to you? Exactly that. So Maryam alayhi salam, she did not have to utter a word in her defense to show her innocence. However, due to her actions of obeying Allah's command to her, Allah showed her innocence on a larger scale through miracles of making her baby, her son, Prophet Isa alayhi salam, speak out to the people. Now Allah says in the Quran, I want to come back to the topic of patience. So Maryam alayhi salam, as mentioned through this story, we saw how well she was in terms of patience, how she portrayed that, how she showed that. But I want to strip it back a little bit. What is the true meaning of patience? Now I would like to ask you that same thing. If you could give an answer, response to it, great. According to the Oxford Dictionary, patience is with somebody or something the ability to stay calm and accept a delay or something annoying without complaining. Now this sounds like a short-term thing, which some of you may agree. I also carried out a short survey and a short questionnaire. before I came here today to ask different groups of female women, specifically within the girls, just because our inspirational personality of today is Maryam alayhi salam being a female role model. Now, we had 3 groups, which was the young teenage girls, young adults, working professional millennials, to then the elder generation. Many people gave the same answer, which was patience is something where you endure some sort of pain, you deal and manage a situation that isn't of comfort to you, and you don't retaliate in a negative way, which is correct. That definitely is the case. However, patience, as Maryam alayhi salam showed us, it's not just something that you receive the fruits of in that moment of time. It's a long-term thing. She enjoyed patience during the time when she was told that she's going to have a son, as a miracle, as Allah wishes. Whatever He wishes, He gives, as we came across that Quranic verse. But also the fruits of it, she merited and she benefited from it before and even after her child for the rest of her life. The status she was given, not only was she mentioned by the Prophet ﷺ in hadith amongst his companions, but she was also mentioned by Allah. Now that, to me and to you, I'm sure you would agree, is an amazing way to show how much of a role model she is to me and you. Now, within this patience, what did Allah say? How can we ensure to be able to follow her footsteps? How can we ensure to do as much as we possibly can to follow her footsteps? Now, to this section, I would like to also mention that in today's society, in today's day and age, it's very common that we, as specifically within Muslim girls, young girls to young adults to even elder, we have amazing role models within Muslim history, Islamic history, such as Maryam alayhi salam. We hear the stories, as I obviously focused on one part. The main part of her story today was how she endured patience and how she carried herself during the most difficult time that we can not only fathom. Not only did she do this, but also she made sure that she did it in a way because Allah knew that she could do it. So He didn't burden her more than she could bear. She may not have thought that she could endure all that she did go through as a human. However, this brings me to the point where when it comes to you and I, we think that, these role models are great, they're amazing people, we aspire to be like them, but because they have been given such a status in the eyes of Allah, in the eyes of the Prophet, we think that we can never be like her, and therefore we don't even try. Now that's where we go wrong, because within the verses of Surah Maryam, as mentioned previously, Allah mentions there's a reason to why everything is mentioned in the Quran. The reason is because it's a guidebook. It's there to help us all the decades, as it has been helping for decades and continues to help us today. It's there for us to be able to take wisdom from, to take lessons from, and do our best to implement it in our life. It is possible. It really is possible. Like mentioned, if Allah didn't want us, and if He thought that we wouldn't be able to reach that level, or didn't want to try, He wouldn't put it in the Quran. Allah sent us the Quran as a guidebook, as a book for us to turn to whenever we need anything in regards to life. So from this, what I'm urging for us, for myself, for all the young sisters out there, to do is try to take the lessons, the morals that you learn from Maryam alayhi salam's life, her story, her decisions, her intentions. We can implement it in our life. We surely can. Don't feel like you can never get to that level, because anything that we take from it is better than nothing. She is a role model. She is one that her lifestyle is a lesson for us to benefit from. So I will now go on to the part where what kind of morals and what kind of lessons can we actually take from the story of Maryam alayhi salam. You may come across a few, you may say a few out now. You may also mention, the fact that in terms of how to deal with certain situations when we face it. Now, in today's day and age, when we are befallen with hardship, with tests and trials, we often feel like we fall into despair sometimes. We feel like, why is Allah doing this to me? Why me? Why am I the one that's being tested in this way? The answer is, Allah knows you can solve this. You can manage this burden. He won't burden us more than we can bear. He knows you can come out the other way if you try. And Maryam alayhi salam is here to tell me and you that if we try and if we really put our trust and put our faith in Allah and show this true endurance of patience, we can definitely do it too. A lot of the times we want, in terms when we're given with hardship, I've come across a few stories recently where the loss of a family member, but not just one, then another and another, and you think, Allah, I can't do it anymore. I can't manage any more pain. However, Allah knows why you and I are doing this, why He's putting us through this, and He knows it's because it will make us stronger if we listen to His command, if we truly put our faith and tawakkul in Him. Yeah, and that's where one of my close friends actually also mentioned her responses to, not just losing one family member, but 2, 3. She mentioned that Allah knows that we can bear it. There's always a reason for everything that we are being faced with. No two people on this earth have the same exact scenario or the same exact test. Everyone's got it different according to our own strengths and weaknesses. Now Allah said in the Quran how we should deal with the tests that He gives us. So He's even informed us, given us the mechanism, given us the structure, the steps of how to deal with it, to ensure that we can also follow and get the fruit and enjoy the fruits and rewards and reap the rewards of true patience when we are tested in our own life today. He mentions in the Quran, and seek help in patience and salah. And truly it is extremely heavy and hard except for the humble, submissive to Allah. Now this just shows us that Allah is mentioning that He understands that it's difficult, it's hard, it's a test. As we Muslims believe that we're in this world because Allah is testing us, and therefore the real life, the eternal life, is in the hereafter. So how to deal, you may ask, how am I meant to deal with it? I can't manage it anymore. Allah says, seek help in patience and in salah. So when we're in salah, we are conversing with Allah. You can tell Allah your problems. You can tell Allah what you need from Him. He is there to listen and to give. Now, the moment a trial strikes us, you and I, remember to be patient, because the Prophet ﷺ said, the real patience is at the first stroke of a calamity. This is a hadith from Sahih al-Bukhari. Now, I would like to retract myself a little bit more earlier on, where I mentioned when I carried out the survey of people who thought, what is patience? What does patience mean to you? And as I mentioned, the younger teenage years to the young adults and the elder adults as well, the elder generation, they mentioned a similar thing, pretty much, which we've covered already. However, the fascinating thing for me to see was that on one hand, the younger generation, they felt as though it was a short-term thing, patience, to endure pain or to manage and show that you have trust in Allah for a short period of time. Once you do it, once I show patience to a certain situation, that's it, that's patience done. However, the elder generation, as I went along within the survey, they mentioned that it was at the same time of obviously as a first stroke of the calamity is very important, as mentioned in hadith. However, they also mentioned that it's important for us to carry on that patience throughout our life. So let's say, for example, you and I have been tested by a trial at our early stages of life. Now, we enjoyed patience during the time. We weren't complaining, we weren't dismissive, and we didn't despair in Allah. However, as the years went on, if we start to use that time that we were patient as not necessarily as an excuse, but to cover up and to make it as some sort of a way for us to allow us to do other things in other situations, or I was patient during that time. Hence why now I'm allowed to speak of it. that defeats the purpose. Patience isn't something that you do once and you can drop it and then start complaining about it years later. The true fruits of patience is one that is started at the very beginning when we're hit with we're hit with the trial, but also we carry out throughout our life, throughout the stages until the akhirah. Now this actually brings me to and reminds me of a very, very important, well-known Urdu saying, which in the Urdu language they mention "Sabar ka pal meeta hota hai," which means that the true fruits that you would receive from patience would definitely be very sweet, which means that there can only be goodness from it. The more patient we are, the more we endure patience, nothing bad or negative can ever come from it. I would like to now go on a little bit more regarding Maryam alayhi salam and tell you a few more facts, interesting facts about her that you and I may have not necessarily known. As she had become such a pinnacle of an aspiration and inspiration, we aspire to be like her. We aspire to adopt the characteristics and the manners and how she dealt with situations of her. Who was she, and a little bit more about her? So Maryam alayhi salam's father's name was Imran and her mother's name was Hannah, and she was born in a small town in Palestine. As I mentioned, the Holy Quran has a whole chapter, entire surah named after her, which, bear in mind, nobody else has that from amongst the women in Islam. The Holy Prophet Muhammad ﷺ had also listed her as one of the 4 greatest women of all time that has ever walked on earth, who has reached that amount of spirituality. Her iman, as you can see, her faith in Allah, in Islam, in the oneness of Allah, was just on another level. Maryam alayhi salam had faced lots of trials, as we have covered in her life, regarding lots of accusations, lots of name calling. A lot of people thought of her as something that she wasn't. However, at the same time, she experienced the most miracles from Allah. One being the fruits, as mentioned, that she would be given. One where her child spoke out to prove her innocence, and another for her to actually give birth to a child without a partner. Now, with Maryam alayhi salam, she has always shown us, and she has always shown us through her character what a role model means. It's not that, she's untouchable, she's unreachable, so I can't be like her at all. No. We can definitely take the lessons and morals from Maryam alayhi salam. Now, as you all possibly have got the list already in terms of who Maryam alayhi salam is, what kind of attributes we can take from her, I would like to share the attributes and the lessons that I personally myself do take from Maryam alayhi salam, and will try my best every single day to adopt these into my lifestyle, and I hope you do too. So if you haven't already, hopefully inshallah these next bullet points in regards to how me and you, how we together can aspire to be like Maryam alayhi salam and adopt the same characteristics, manners like her. I pray that when a calamity or hardship befalls me, you and I, we are able to endure it with patience rather than an oof or something of despair. We should have that conviction like Maryam alayhi salam did. Endure it with that true patience where you know deep down, you've got that faith that whatever Allah is doing, is for the best. He will not be burdening you if you couldn't bear it, if I couldn't bear it. So the next time I or you and I are tested through a hardship, how will you show your patience? Now everybody's reaction to patience can be different. Some people may think enduring that in silence and showing that within action by turning to Allah, of course. As mentioned in the Quran, Allah told us to turn to Him. So when a trial or hardship befalls us, we should turn to Allah first. Instead of turning to humans, to our close and loved ones, of course we've got them as a moral support. But the first way that we should turn is towards Allah. Raise our hands to Him, call out to Him and speak to Him. That's another thing. A lot of people think that when we speak to Allah, we have to speak it in a very formal way. There's a certain way, of course, He is Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim. He's our Lord. We will start off with that. In regards to that, at the same time, we should be able to speak to Allah like our best friend, because He knows what's in our hearts, in our heads, in our intentions. He knows it all already. But He wants to hear it from us. He wants us to call out to Him. That's what He wants. So the next time you are tested with a trial, inshallah, I will also be doing this, is turning to Allah first, speaking to Him, asking Him for guidance, asking Him for help in whatever it is that I need in that situation. Second thing that I would do is I would try to see the good in the situation. I will endure patience for the long term, inshallah. Not only at the time is very important, but for the rest of my life, I will do everything I can to ensure that that situation doesn't happen again. And even if it does, I know how to manage it, because I remember the story of Maryam alayhi salam. If she can do it, and Allah has put her as a role model for us in the Quran, so that we may learn from her and actually take parts from her character, her personality, then I can definitely do it too. So can you. The third thing that I would do is also be able to rectify my intention and put in myself my mindset that Allah is doing this for a reason. He will not burden me if I couldn't bear with it. There must be some fruit from this. Mindset is key, in my opinion, as well as intention. As Allah says, the Prophet ﷺ says in a hadith, إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ, which means that verily, every action is upon its intention. So every time we make an intention to do good, we get reward for it. Allah sees it, acknowledges it, recognizes it, registers it. So every time we feel like, what's going on, instead of turning into the negative side, I will try my best to look at the positive side and endure it and be hopeful in Allah that there will be fruits from it, just the way Maryam alayhi salam had many miracles, and Allah had, guided her throughout every step that she went through. Surely, inshallah, He will do the same for me in my way. That's related to my life. That's related to me, inshallah. Now, before we close up for today, for this session with the personality of the session today, I would like to talk about in regards to the merits of Maryam alayhi salam as a summary. Hopefully you've already registered these things, but there's a few things in there that I would love to share with you all. So as you may or may not have known, Maryam alayhi salam was actually raised by Prophet Zakaria alayhi salam. She was the descendant of a prophet, of Harun alayhi salam. As we know, she was the mother of our Prophet Isa alayhi salam. Her own birth was a miracle as well, which is mentioned in Ibn Kathir. She was protected from shaitan at the touch of birth as well. She gave birth miraculously without a partner. She was the greatest woman of her time. She achieved perfection in Iman, mentioned in the hadith of Bukhari and Muslim, which is what we all aspire to be. We can take lessons from this. I do repeat myself. We can learn from her. The reason why Allah put her in front of us, made her such an inspiration, is because He wants us to follow her model, follow her footsteps as a role model. She is the only woman mentioned in the Quran, and the angels spoke to her, i.e. Jibreel alayhi salam spoke to her in Surah Al-Imran. I hope, inshallah, from this session, we've been able to take away the lessons, the morals of the personality, of the great personality Maryam alayhi salam was and still is today. Now, I would like to read out the dua now, inshallah. I pray from today's session we can all take away something that of benefit, something that we can act upon in our own life, something that we can all learn a lesson from and also teach it to others. Start the chain by you. No knowledge is too small or too common or too obvious to share. May Allah allow us to be like Maryam alayhi salam. May He allow us to follow the footsteps of Maryam alayhi salam Give us the patience and strength of Maryam alayhi salam in our own life, and may we all inshallah reunite in Jannah to meet Maryam alayhi salam together. Ameen. ربنا واجعلنا مسلمين لك ومن ذريتنا أمة مسلمة لك وأرنا مناسكنا وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. ربنا أفرغ علينا صبرا وثبت أقدامنا وانصرنا على القوم الكافرين. ربنا لا تؤاخذنا إن نسينا أو أخطأنا. ربنا ولا تحمل علينا إسرا كما حملته على الذين من قبلنا. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم.
This Sahri is sponsored by Cameron Adams Plastic Carpets and Waris Food Store.
اللهم إني نبيت بصوم غد من شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن. اللهم تقبل منا هذا الصوم بحرمة السيد ولد أدنان يا عزيز يا غفار يا مستعان يا رحمن.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمد رسول الله. أشهد أن محمد رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. الصلاة خير من النوم. الصلاة خير من النوم. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
اللهم صل على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله في الأولين. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه في الآخرين. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه في الملأ الأعلى إلى يوم الدين. اللهم رب هذه الدعوة التامة والصلاة القائمة آت سيدنا ومولانا محمد الوسيلة والفضيلة والدرجة الرفيعة وابعثه مقاما محمودا الذي وعدته وارزقنا شفاعته يوم القيامة إنك لا تخلف الميعاد.
This Sahri is sponsored by Cameron Adams Plashet Carpets and Waris Food Store.
Thinking of selling or letting your property? Need someone reliable to find the best prospect for your home? Well, look no further. Cameron Adams is here to take care of all your needs. Our professional and experienced team will guide you through the entire process and ensure you find the right client for your property. For a no obligation quotation, contact us now on 0208 558